In November 1095, at the Council of Clermont in France, Pope Urban II issued a momentous appeal. He urged Christians across Europe to take up arms in a holy war, a crusade, to reclaim Jerusalem and the sacred lands of the East from Muslim rule. During the 11th century, the Seljuk Turks, once nomadic tribes from Central Asia, had risen to prominence within the Islamic world. Having embraced Islam and won a string of military victories, they established dominance across the Middle East. In 1055, they seized Baghdad, and in 1071, they shattered Byzantine power in Anatolia at the Battle of Manzikert. 59952. 59,952. Facing collapse, Byzantine Emperor Alexios I Komnenos appealed to the West for military aid. Europe responded with fervor. Tens of thousands answered the Pope's call, forming one of the largest armies of the medieval world, over 70,000 crusaders, comprising knights, peasants, and nobles from every corner of the continent. The First Crusade was spearheaded by powerful French nobles such as Adhemer of Lepuy and Raymond IV of Toulouse, many of whom abandoned their estates to fight for Christendom. Upon reaching Constantinople, the Crusaders expected support and guidance from Emperor Alexios. Instead, the emperor insisted they swear oaths of fealty and agree to return any captured territory to Byzantium. In early 1097, after pledging loyalty, the Crusaders crossed the Bosphorus with Alexios' help. Their first objective was Nicaea, once a Byzantine city, now a Seljuk capital. The siege began on May 14, and just 2 days later, Seljuk Sultan Kilij Arslan rushed to relieve the city but was repelled after fierce fighting. On June 18, Nicaea surrendered. The Crusaders pushed onward through Anatolia in 2 columns, one led by the Normans, the other by the French. On July 1, Arslan ambushed the Norman vanguard near Dorylaeum, hoping to crush them with cavalry and horse archers. But the French arrived just in time, turning the tide. The Seljuks retreated, but not before scorching the earth behind them, leaving the Crusaders to march through an arid wasteland, suffering from thirst, hunger, and heat. Their next target was the formidable city of Antioch, a critical gateway to Jerusalem. Reaching its walls in October 1097, the Crusaders lacked the numbers to fully encircle the city. The resulting 8-month siege saw countless Crusaders die of starvation. Relief came with a small English fleet and a trickle of supplies. Seljuk warlord Kurboga rallied a massive army from across Syria and Iraq. But before he arrived, Bohemond of Taranto orchestrated a daring plan. With help from an Armenian guard named Pyrrhus, he opened the gates on June 2, 1098, and the Crusaders stormed Antioch, slaughtering much of the population, Muslim and Christian alike. Kurboga's army reached Antioch days later and besieged the now exhausted Crusaders. On June 28, the Crusaders launched a desperate sortie in 4 divisions. Caught off guard, Kurboga's coalition disintegrated under pressure. The Crusaders triumphed, but internal disputes delayed their advance for months. Bohemond claimed Antioch for himself, while famine, disease, and disunity plagued the rest. The Crusaders resumed their advance in early 1099, moving along the Levantine coast. Most local rulers offered truce, providing food and supplies. In February, they laid siege to Arca in modern-day Lebanon, but internal rivalry stalled progress. The siege was abandoned in May. By the time the Crusaders reached Jerusalem in June 1099, only 12,000 men remained, including just 1,500 cavalry. The Fatimids had recently recaptured the city from the Seljuks and tried to negotiate with the Crusaders, offering free access to Christian pilgrims if the army halted its advance. The offer was rejected. The city's Christian residents were expelled, and food and water were scarce. A direct assault was deemed the only option. On June 13th, the Crusaders launched their first assault but failed, hindered by poor coordination. Then, on June 17th, a Genoese fleet arrived, bringing siege engineers and lumber for siege towers. Spurred by the news of a Fatimid relief army, the Crusaders prepared for a final, decisive attack. On July 15, Raymond of Toulouse assaulted the southern gate, while Godfrey of Bouillon and Tancred struck from the north. Godfrey's forces breached the walls first, prompting panic inside. The Crusaders surged into the city, slaughtering Muslim inhabitants and burning the Jewish quarter. Even Christians caught in the chaos were not spared. Iftikhar ad-Dawla, the Fatimid governor, surrendered the citadel to Raymond in exchange for safe passage to Ascalon. The conquest was brutal and complete. On July 22, 1099, in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, the Crusaders established a new Christian kingdom. Godfrey of Bouillon was chosen to lead, refusing the title of king and instead adopting the humble title, Defender of the Holy Sepulchre. Most Crusaders, their pilgrimage complete, began the long journey home. Only 300 knights and 2,000 infantry remained to defend Jerusalem. Those who abandoned a campaign earlier were met with disgrace and threats of excommunication, while the survivors were hailed as heroes across Christendom. The First Crusade had succeeded in its goal, the capture of Jerusalem, and marked the beginning of a bitter, centuries-long struggle for control of the Holy Land. It left a profound imprint on both European identity and Christian-Muslim relations, uniting the West under the banner of Christendom while deepening the rift between faiths and civilizations.